Hey folks, haven't made a video in a little while. Thought I'd make an update on what's happening up here at the Off-Grid Homestead. And I've been having friends from all over the world reach out to me, and it's really sweet. And I appreciate it. But with all the kind of typical fear-mongering news that's happening in our endless fear-based news cycles, the narrative is circled back to fear of impending doom from climate change. And because I live in British Columbia, I've had friends reach out to me from all over the world, which is really sweet. But I guess my friends that are reaching out to me didn't realize that I've been preparing for this for years for some reason. So I'm not affected in any way whatsoever from all the said pandemonium that's happening here in British Columbia. So if you unfortunate enough to be paying attention to what the mainstream or the lamestream media has to say, you've heard of big floods in the lower mainland, power outages, fuel rationing, shortages at grocery stores. And I guess all of those things are true to some degree, but they don't affect me at all because I've seen this coming for years. And you've been following my videos for at least the last 2 years since the beginning of the whole pandemic narrative. I've been talking about this stuff, and well before that I've been preparing for it. So I'm not affected by it in any way, and I want to explain to you why that is. Well, the first reason is I'm on a mountain, so floods and things like that don't affect me. Second reason, I no longer live in the city, so I can't be affected by things like power outages and things like that because we're off grid. You can see part of my large solar system behind me. And food shortages and things like that, well, those don't really affect me either because I've been preparing for this for years. We've got plenty of stored food. We've been farming and gardening for a very long time. So no issues there. And as for fuel shortages, well, we have lots of fuel stored up here. So at the moment, that's not an issue. So I wanted to, in this video, I guess just give you a little update on where we're at with the homestead. And winter has fully settled in. So while there was crazy rainstorms and things like this happening in southern BC and the lower mainland, up here on the mountain, we did get some crazy snowstorms. And there'd been a couple of just blasts of it. We had some far out, strong westerly wind coming before the snow came. And it was intense. I must admit, it was intense. There was stuff blowing around up here, though we were mostly things were tied down. The solar panels did fine. They're on a lot of concrete, so there's no issues there. But yeah, it was an intense little storm. But winter has fully settled up here. But my views in the winter up here are better than ever because the low pressure systems, we kind of stay above those, and we've got some clouds kind of rolling in right now, so it's a bit misty, but we get these beautiful sunrises where the sun comes up above the cloud line, and it's quite amazing. But yeah, things have been really busy up here, and homesteading is quite a chore, I'll tell you. I'm sure anybody who is a regular homesteader, that's no news to, but I spend quite a bit of time just kind of keeping things going. You know, my daily chores are fire. I've got 2 fireplaces, one in the cabin that we live in before, while our home is being built. And I've got another in our garage greenhouse. And that one's really important to keep going as well because this is where the power system is. And so I need to keep my batteries in there above freezing. Otherwise they'll shut down. And we actually had that happen once. And but everything's okay now. And it's quite amazing with this system because everything seems to be working as well as I thought it would. We've had lots of little minor glitches as we set the system up. There's still a lot of tweaking that we have to do with it. It's such a big system. It's 20 kilowatts of solar, which is 48 panels. Each of these rigs are 16 panels each, and there's 3 of them. And then we've got 96 kilowatts of lithium iron sulfate batteries and then all the inverters and charge controls and all that. There's kind of a lot to it, a lot of moving parts. And so we've been doing a lot of tweaking with that. I've had my electrician up here a lot. And but it's been really neat because Most days in the winter are not like this. Right now it's sunny, it's beautiful. Most days are just cloudy and socked in. And it's been really neat to observe the solar system throughout all this time, because one would think if it's really cloudy and socked in with lots of snow that it wouldn't produce power, but it actually does. I found that even on the cloudiest days right now, we're still producing about 1.5 kilowatts of power, and then we're only consuming about 500 throughout the day. So it's not bad, but that consumption is really based on what's going on up here. If it's just my family and we're just up here doing our thing, we're consuming about that much power. But if I have the construction crew up here and there's generators or there's compressors running and recharging tools and things like that, then we obviously consume a lot more. But we did have a time where there was almost 2 weeks of solid cloud, and because of all the construction happening, we were consuming more than we were producing. We had this kind of system failure, and we have now since hooked up this puppy, which is a diesel generator, 13 kilowatt Yanmar engine. It's really kind of ad hoc the way this is set up at the moment. There's going to be a permanent shelter that's built into the connected to this building, but not actually directly connected, so it doesn't vibrate. But it will look like it's connected. It'll be insulated. There'll be a door on it. There'll be access all around it. But we just got it fired up because we had this system shut down basically after 2 weeks of really cloudy weather, and we drained the batteries lower than I thought we did. The system went down, but then we kind of in the nick of time got this thing running, and we were able to just fully charge the batteries by just running it for 10 hours. And then the sun came back, and now we're basically net positive again, which is really neat. But back to my chores, I do spend a lot of time just, managing fires. I have to keep this fire in here stocked, of course, in my cabin to keep my family warm. But I spend a surprising amount of time on snow, which I actually really enjoy. It's pretty fun. I kind of have a threefold strategy, almost a fourfold strategy with managing my snow. For the most part, I use my skid steer, and I've got 3 different implements that I use. I'll use the bucket on the skid steer to manage my landings and not my driveway, but areas around the house. And then I use the blade, the articulating blade, to do snow on the driveway when it's thin. And then I've got the snow blower, which I'll use when the snow starts getting really light and fluffy and we get heavy dumps, which I haven't had to use it yet, actually. But I also have a BCS snowblower, which I used for years while I was living in Kelowna, which I'm going to be bringing back to start managing some of the pathways and things like that around me. And of course, a lot of the snow that I have to manage is off my panels. So whenever we get a snowfall, it will stick to the panels a bit, even though these are at a really steep angle right now. They're in their winter setting. But if we get a snow that comes in overnight, it'll kind of stick. And if I just let it melt off, it will. But I often want to get some daylight on these panels in the morning, so I'm often having to come out here and scrape them off. It probably takes me 20 minutes to do all 3 of these rigs. And then one of the things I discovered, which is a bit of a mistake that I made in the design of the system, is I didn't put these high enough off the ground. I mean, these are huge rigs, right? Like this is about 15 feet higher than where I'm at right now. And then the panels themselves, when they're in this position, are about 2 feet off the ground. But when I scrape the snow down, it piles up on the bottom, and so I have to kind of shovel it off. So I think if I would have done this again, I would have put them higher. And I might have an opportunity to do that in the summer, is just kind of readjust them. And what I might do is just bring the... I've got these concrete footings down on these. They're about 6,000 pounds of concrete each, so they're pretty tough. But what I could do in the summer is decommission one of these rigs one at a time, which is a bit of a to-do, really. But then just do a concrete footing where each of these sit, and just bring them up on top of the concrete that's already there. So I could bring them up a few feet, and that might make a little bit less work with snow. But it's not that much work. It's not that big of a deal. But it is work. But I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up of whether it's worth it or not to put all the work in, have the electrician come and decommission it, then recommission it. I don't know. It's a bit of a toss-up. But these are the lessons that you learn, you know, as you go through all this stuff. So it is pretty cool that, like, on a sunny day like this, these panels will just be cranking. Once we get into full sun, we're still at a point, even in this winter, as cold and as dark as it has been, that the system is floating. So these panels, once they max out the batteries, they just go into a float state, which just means that they basically stop producing. And I hoped that that's how it would have gone, with setting this system up, but I didn't really think it would do that, and it has, which has been really cool. And so I'm starting to realize that there's other things we can be doing with electricity, because it seems like we're producing an excess of electricity at every time of the year, obviously including the spring, summer, and fall. But I didn't think it would be this much. Here's my electrician showing up now. I didn't think it would be this much even in the winter. So one thing we're realizing is that we can use a lot less gas than what we thought, because we do have, in our cabin that we live in, we have the hot water and the stove on there using propane, which we have stored a lot of. But we're realizing that we could actually be using electricity to create hot water all the time, anytime. Like, and these panels, they're probably already in a float state right at this moment, but so we should be taking that electricity and dumping it into something that we can store, like hot water. So we could probably get rid of our hot water tank in there and hook up or we get rid of our gas on demand in there and set up a electric hot water tank. And anytime we have excess electricity, it just dumps into hot water, and then we're taking showers and washing our dishes for free. And we could also do that with the stove. So it looks like the system is making it so that we don't even need propane. But I kind of want to go through a full winter to see if that's how it actually goes. So yeah, that's kind of what life up here looks like right now. And one thing I want to mention to you guys before I sign off here is that we've got an offer for my Microgreens Blueprint course that ends November 30th. This is our flagship course. I've been running this one for a number of years now, and the success stories from people who have taken this course are unbelievable. People have found ways to take control of their finances, take control of their career, and do their own business from home, the comfort of their own home, on their terms. So microgreens are still an amazing way to get into farming. It's probably the lowest barrier to entry you can do, getting into some kind of agriculture. And I've always said that microgreens are a gateway crop. You know, it's a great way to start because you don't need a ton of money to start. You can do it in a basement, a garage, in your kitchen, like I've done in the past. And you can start making money, and then you can start bankrolling. You can expand that enterprise, or you can bankroll another type of enterprise. It's what I've done to get to where I'm at today. Microgreens were critical for me so that I could make money over the winter from my farming, because often market gardening was kind of seasonal to some degree. With microgreens, I was able to do it all winter. So if you want to head to microgreensblueprint.com/half-price, that offer's there. Go and check that out. That'll run until the end of November. So that's it for my homestead update here, guys. I'll see you in the next video.